are back in studio, Carrie, and I know earlier this week you were talking about testicular cancer awareness.
Right.
And we'll be doing much more on that during the month of April. But now we're talking about the PAP Party, the PAP, not PAP in South Africa. Those of you listening are looking at us on in South Africa, you're probably saying, PAP, oh my gosh, I love PAP. I love PAP. PAP is a food. It's like a rice corn kind of thing, like fufu and cuckoo. We're not talking about that. We're talking about pap smear this morning. I have my doctors cracking up because you're thinking, what is she talking about? If you haven't had pap, if you've had pap, you'll be excited as I am because it really tastes really good. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about PAP Party. Dr. Christina Pierre, founder of My Sister's Keeper, and Dr. Siobhan Joseph, consultant, obstetrician, and gynecologist. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Welcome to the program.
Thanks for having us.
And you were saying it's your first time in TTT studio ever.
It is, yes.
Wow, you too?
Yes, thank you.
Wow, well, welcome to now.
Thank you.
I love this studio. Do you love our studio?
Yes,
It's beautiful.
yes, very nice.
Oh, thanks.
The people are beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. So, we're talking about a very serious topic, though, PAP Party, and I'm assuming this has to do with pap smear?
Yes.
Yes, tell me
It does.
more.
So the PAP Party, it's a cervical cancer awareness and free screening event. So we did our first last year, January. We did it in Cervical Cancer Awareness Month. This year, we are doing it now in April, and essentially the main highlight of it is that we're going to be doing free pap smears.
Yes.
So we have recruited some volunteered physicians. We got some of the screening kits and whatnot donated. And essentially it's taking sort of the format of a health fair. So we have a few clinics, a few insurance companies and whatnot coming to talk about health. We have the Ayana S. Diet Foundation, which is a foundation that was founded in honor of a young woman who passed away from cervical cancer. They'll be giving an address. The Ministry of Health, the EPI unit, is coming to give HPV vaccines. So the whole idea is really just to spread awareness about cervical cancer, give women resources that they can go to for getting screening, for getting HPV vaccination, because HPV vaccination is prophylactic in
Yes.
preventing cervical cancer. So.
We'll come back and talk about the vaccines. Dr. Joseph, why is it important for women to have pap smears? At what age should they start and how often should they have it?
It's extremely important because we know what causes cervical cancer. We have identified it to be the root cause in about 90% or more of all diagnosed cervical cancers. And we know that it's a virus that is spread sexually from partner to partner. So the importance of screening for it is because it's preventable. You know, if you screen, we can find early signs, early changes. There's early minor treatments, office treatments even, to prevent your risk of progressing to cancer. Once cancer is there, it's a whole different ballgame in terms of management. So that's why it's important for screening.
And for those who may never have had a pap smear, and they just think anything that appears to be invasive, I don't want to do it. Is it painful, the process?
So yes, and very regularly I'm faced with that barrier where people come in, they come in for an exam, but they come in with preconceived notions of how painful and terrible it's going to be. And it's actually not that bad if you're understanding what's about to happen. And it's a very quick exam. And at the same time, I try to put it in perspective of how invasive chemo and radiation and surgery is in comparison to a very quick.
Put it into perspective.
Yes,
right.
Perspective is key.
My Sister's Keeper. Tell us about that.
So it's a nonprofit organization. Myself and a bunch of colleagues, I would call them more friends actually, we founded this back in 2017. So at the time I was working in a lab where I kind of commissioned some HPV testing there. So I was aware of HPV as a cause of cervical cancer before I started working there, but I guess actually seeing the reports and of course doing a HPV report, you would glance at the PAP reports as well. That kind of brought my attention to how young women were being diagnosed with these precancerous lesions, and in some cases even cervical cancer.
And how young are we talking about here?
Like I've seen early 20s.
Right.
Of course, that's rare. It's rare to find someone with cervical cancer early 20s, but for example, the Ayana S. Diet Foundation, the young lady that passed away, that foundation is in honor of, was 32 years old when she passed away. So she was my age when she passed away from cervical cancer. And it just goes to show how important it is to get screened, get vaccinated, because this is something that could potentially affect young women because of the nature of it being spread through sexual contact, through
So at what
HPV.
age should you get the vaccine then? Is it pre-sexual
I'm
activity?
going to pass this on to Dr. Joseph.
Because that's the controversy right there.
Well,
Yeah.
it's been shown that it's been demonstrated that pre-puberty, that age group, prior to, so the term is actually a naive, HPV naive individual. So HPV naive individual hasn't been exposed yet, so their immune system is better equipped to deal with it if it's inoculated and vaccinated against the virus. The virus, if you're exposed to it, you can exhibit changes from it as early as 3 weeks from the time of exposure, but as long as 15 years later. So you asked about what age
Because
group
it can
you'll find
remain dormant in the system.
It remains dormant,
right? Yeah.
it's immune suppressed until it's not, and that's why it's so prevalent. So they've looked at populations where if you catch 11 to 12-year-olds, the vaccine is actually much more effective in that individual as they proceed and mature into sexually activity.
So let's talk about the event once again before we break for the news at the top of the hour. When is the PAP party and where?
It's this Saturday. It's at the Center of Excellence. It's from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Is there a cost? No.
That's absolutely free. So everything is absolutely free. So we want to make it the goal is to make it accessible to everybody. So we made it absolutely free from 8 to 6 p.m. The other thing I want to mention, just to add to what Dr. Joseph has said, is that, there have been studies now that have shown protection from the vaccine, in older women, and have even shown that even one dose of the vaccine can be protective. So,
and even if you've had a history of being exposed or an abnormal PAP, you still can be protected.
Okay, so we're going to have to leave it there because we have to break for the news at the top of the hour. But I want to thank you, Dr. Christina Pear and Dr. Siobhan Joseph, and congratulations on the work that you're doing. We're going to cross over now to the news at the top of the hour. Stay with us. We'll be back after the news.